Hello and welcome back to Pete's Model Car Customs. I hope you've all been well. I'm back with a little update of booting the tripod on the Firefighter Mustang II, but I thought I'd start with this little interlude of a figure I painted during the week. I picked this up at a small sort of event thing, you know, a second-hand sales thing. We have them in car parks, car boot sales, and you get all sorts of stuff there. And this figure was on sale. I paid £2 for him, unpainted, of course. It's a resin figure, but I thought he was kind of great and a bit of a laugh. He's got quite good scaling details, and a fish he's bitten the head off, killed with his log thing. I don't know, sort of club with a tusk in it. What's up? There you go, sort of down there. He's all sort of leathery and web-footed, and sort of great for a change to do a figure. I must admit, watching Mad Dog Merv's videos recently where he's been doing the Warhammer stuff has encouraged me, but either way, jolly good fun and a bit of difference for something to paint. Alright, moving along to something less sensible. Pardon, that Firefighter. Every stage, every stage of the model you move on to and find another delightful, what would the word be? Void. I moved into the engine bay, and it's just going to be in my way. What have I got? Lift that back up. That Galaxy's got sprayed white now. It was grey the other day, wasn't it? Light grey of that other primer. But anyway, moving into the Firefighter. Putting the engine in. The engine doesn't have any mounts in the frame part. What it does have is a hole, or rather a pin, in the lower part, in the centre there. And a hole in the sump. That's cool, isn't it? I didn't know engines were mounted in cars like that. What a simple idea. Whack a bloody great hole in the sump and then away you go. Lovely. So I've been working on a couple of those, which are nice little bits if I come in slowly. Probably not. How about if I blank that off anyway? This is the floor I've been adapting. That had a little bit of filling to do. Will that help? I've made two of these. I'll get it there. So there's 4 bolts on each. Oh, there we go. And they'll sit on the frame and support the engine. So I've got one either side, which will be, bung that back down there. I did want to stop for a fag as well, but mounted there and there, bracing across the gap to support, obviously, the engine. This engine has got an absolutely atrocious water pump area, and it's so sort of devoid of detail, but it's also too low a relief. It should be sort of fatter. So you'd actually have a lower water hose for a start, because there's not even enough room for that properly. There's no fuel pump on here either. That hole there is for a oil filter. Also along here, where I've got these lines marked there, this was to work out where I could put the engine mountings, because you've got to clear around the, oh that's handy, it's the right one, clear around the doodad exhausts. Right, so the engine mount's going to slide in between there. Right, so it'll go up from the chassis at an angle in that gap and support the engine. The flange I put on here has to go, where is it, around this part. So how am I going to get that over there? Now I've put a flange on. Silly Billy, eh? I cut it off again. I wanted to keep this all lined up while I cleaned it up, because the actual parts, if it will focus for me, come on. Got both hands here, I can't get it there. Right. Was really atrocious, and I've spent quite a lot of time cleaning up the seams and that, and to clean them up you're going to be twanging all the time. So I thought if I put on a flange up the top, that will hold all these pipes steady and not distort them while I cleaned up all the edges and that, and then disconnect them again so as I can slip them over that plate to mount them. For some reason I've got myself sitting a couple of inches too far back, and it's making this feel blimmin' uncomfortable. So that will slide down there with the exhaust like that. Then the engine drops into place. And my exhaust will wrap around. I've obviously got to paint them up before I finally fit them. The alternator's got to go in. I think I'll cut that, although that was a separate part, that water pump, part 71. I put it on as is and then looked at it and thought I'm going to cut it back off again and fatten it out a little bit with a piece of card behind it. If I slice it back off, put a piece of card behind that just to pack that out a little bit, I can also cut this off completely and pack that out a little bit too, that bit there. But I'll have to sit it in and have a little measure. The still with the engine bay, just have to, there we go, have to move on to the radiator. So as I said, there's no bottom water mount, but also there are some horrible ejector marks all the way, 4 of them I think it was, but on this radiator. So I've put on some fine mesh to cover them up. And then built up around here, oh that's got it better, to put a lower water fitting on. Plus that plate there will sit on the lip of that cross member. So that will go into there, and I've put on a couple of plates at the front. So that will fit into there and sit properly. I am sitting, I've got my knee against this tripod and it's all getting bleeding way because of the angle of everything. Right, so that will sit in there, and good angle, isn't it? I can then, have that more firmly located, and then the engine supported, properly on its mounts. With the axle bits, if I move that round like that, will that be better? Let's try that a bit. This is one of the front axle stubs that I cut off the other day. So I've added this bracket onto the side of it, which I've drawed through, and when I've sort of finished messing around, I'll shape down a little bit. But this will link this stub across the underneath the chassis to the other stub. And the other day I was saying about there being a lot of end float in that hub, you know, so I've packed out a disc the other side of that to stop that going backwards and forwards too much, so as we've and just got a little bit of float, and then our arm back in with still clearance to not infringe the actual hub itself. The firewall I've stripped off of the detail that was there, apart from the master cylinder booster, and the details I rubbed off look like a fuse box and regulator rectifier. So I might add them back on, I'm not sure yet, because there's a funny inner panel that goes in the engine bay of this. Which I've noticed I have found a couple of builds doesn't fit very well anyway, which is why I started building an inner lip on the actual body to start stopping my hood dropping through the hole, and then I'll build this wall up along with that to build that up properly. Hang on a sec. So I've got you know, that part there fits into there, but it sort of isn't a very good fit from what I've seen, so that's the next stage of looking into that. This floor, you can see by the black panel there, I've infilled that because there's a recess in that floor, plus that great big ejector mark, so I've put them in. I did saw off the back end of the floor, that part, and then rebuilt a new tub with sheet, and then some detail on there. As I was saying, I was squaring everything up in here because it was all rounded off and I don't want it to be, so I've put in a strip on this outer edge of the arch, and the same along the chassis areas of it, plus raising up those 2 points again as the shock absorber mounts. And I said I wanted that to sort of click in, so I've got the floor developed to sort of lock into the back of there. So if I just move that out, that lip just fits into there and closes all that. So I've got rid of those funny lines that it was showing as a side view the other week or whatever. It now looks like that rather than the way it did. I may still put a strip up that edge, but the tyres really do cover that. It was more looking at that I wanted to improve. I filled in the old shocks with a couple of the old leaf spring mounts there and there, with a couple of just discs of plastic. That's about it for this week. I'll get all that tidied up and in. This is getting close to done now. I've got not a few odds and sods still to tidy up on it. Like I say, I don't know exactly what's happening on the firewall. I don't know whether that will be in shot. That's on its base silver flake at the moment. There's still the dashboard to sort out. Not sure what I'm doing there, but everything else looks like it's fitting, and that'll move me along, hopefully. So best wishes from jolly old England. Bye.